Introduction. A lot of the plants we see around us have flowers on them. They are known as flowering plants because they bear flowers. There are also plants that do not bear flowers. They are known as non-flowering plants. The flowers usually contain the reproductive parts of a flowering plant. Stages in the life cycle of flowering plants. The stages in the life cycle of flowering plants are seed germination, flowering, pollination, fertilization, fruit and seed formation. Seed germination. When a seed falls to the ground and is met with favorable conditions, it grows and develops roots, stems and gradually leaves over time. It grows gradually in the presence of sunlight and other favorable factors. Flowering. Soon, the plant reaches its reproductive stage and starts developing buds which eventually opens up into beautiful, scented flowers. Flowers contain the reproductive part of the plant. The male reproductive part of a flower is called the stamen, which contains pollen grains. The female reproductive part of a flowering plant is called the pistil. It contains the stigma, style and ovaries. Pollination. Pollination involves the movement of pollen grain from the anthers to the stigmas of flowers. Through insect, wind, animal, etc. the pollen grains are dispersed from anther of the male part of a flower to the stigma of the female part of the same plant, or another plants. This is known as pollination. Fertilization takes place as the anther reaches the stigma and is then moved to the ovules where the seed forms. Fruit and seed formation. After fertilization, fruits and seeds are formed. The fruit is the protective layer that forms around the seed. The fruits and seeds formed grow and are further dispersed by the activities of man, animals, insects and other agents of pollination. The whole process then starts again. Germination of a seed. Germination is the term used to describe the process when a seed grows into a plant. When a seed has the right conditions, it will germinate and start to grow into a new plant. You can conduct a scientific experiment to find out the environmental conditions that a seed needs to germinate. Seeds must be viable to germinate. A viable seed is one that has not been damaged by heat, that is, by cooking or exposure to fire, by chemicals, or by insect pests. Conditions necessary for germination. The following are some of the factors necessary for germination. Viable seed. A viable seed is one that is still fresh and has not been damaged by any environmental factor. Right amount water or moisture, so that the food stored in the seed can be converted into useful sugar. Excessive water can cause erosion of the seed. Too little water can lead to the drying up of the seed. Air or oxygen which enables the energy stored in the seed be released for growth. Suitable temperature or warmth which will help to convert the food to sugar and enable the release of energy. Testing for conditions necessary for germination. Activity: experiment to show the necessary conditions for germination. Materials needed: 4 test tubes, cotton wool, boiled water allowed to cool, oil, bean seeds. Test tube 1. Add some cotton wool at the base of the test tube. Add a little water to moisten the cotton wool. Place some bean seeds on the cotton wool. Leave in room temperature. Test tube 2. Add some cotton wool at the base of the test tube. Add a little water to moisten the cotton wool. Place some bean seeds on the cotton wool. Put in a refrigerator. Test tube 3. Add some cotton wool at the base of the test tube. Do not add water to moisten the cotton wool. Place some bean seeds on the cotton wool. Keep in room temperature. Test tube 4. Add some cotton wool at the base of the test tube. Add the boiled water that has cooled down the cotton wool. The boiling was down to remove oxygen from the water. Place some bean seeds on the cotton wool. Add oil to the top to avoid any more oxygen from entering. Keep under room temperature. Leave them for a few days, usually between 5 to 7 days. Record your observation. Observation. You will notice that only the seed in the first test tube, which is the controlled experiment, germinated because it is the only seed that has all the necessary factors for growth. Importance of the life cycle of plants in vegetable crop production. Farmers need to have ample knowledge of the various stages of his crops so as to know their respective requirement and enhance success in crop production. It helps the farmer to the kind of pollination and pollination agent required for the reproduction of each crop. He is able to monitor if the crops are well pollinated for fertilization and growth. The farmer is able to ensure the seed is provided with the right environment or necessary conditions for germination and growth. The farmer is also able to know which plants require pollination and those that do not, so as to know where, when and how to concentrate his or her effort and resources.